We have a number of kickoff sessions coming up next week, and this video will explain the overall process of how we're going to run them. In 60 minutes, you're going to be going over some particulars related to your virtual design sprint. They're listed here, but some of the most important ones are finalizing the sprint brief and confirming everyone's availability. Those two particular components are vital for everything moving forward, and I'll explain in just a second. First off, there's going to be a design brief that everyone's going to be rallying around or using as part of your design sprint effort. Now, this was originally crafted by a different group of people. So when the team comes together for your kickoff session, you're going to look over everything, including the idea, success criteria, the subject matter experts that you'll be engaging, and other aspects of your design sprint, and making a calculation and determination on how you want to move forward. You may opt to keep everything in this design sprint brief and move forward with it, or you may decide as a team to change certain aspects of it that make more sense to you. Either way, you want to come out of this session with a finalized sprint brief that would encapsulate your overall effort in the following week. You also want to make sure that you can confirm everyone's availability for the virtual design sprint. Typically, you're looking for about 8 to 10 hours between Monday and Wednesday where everyone can get together and work on something related to the design sprint and the challenge. You also want to discuss when it makes sense to work offline alone and really grind on things like the lightning demos or perhaps even ideation or working on a version of the storyboard. Whatever the activity may be, you want to make sure you allocate enough offline time for that as well. One caveat is that after sending out the survey of your choice and you find that out of the 4, 5, 6 people that are signed up for your particular virtual design sprint, that you don't have enough time online to basically get together and work out something, you should stop the sprint. That means that there's just not enough resources, not enough attention being paid to the sprint, and it's unrealistic to assume that 2 or 3 people can carry the load of 5 or 6. So if that happens, there's a slide at the end of this presentation that's just for you. However, if you have enough people and you're all set to go moving forward, then you want to choose the design sprint type. You usually have a type that was recorded during your registration that everyone said that they wanted to do. However, if you have a short discussion in your team just to make sure that you want to do the type of sprint that you've registered with, you could opt to do something different. For example, if you find that after you doing your individual availability survey, you discover that you don't have a lot of time, you have a bare minimal, and that a 5-day process would probably not work out as well, then you could opt for an experimental version of the design sprint where it's less than 5 days and maybe compacts it down to 2 or 3. Whatever it may be, you have to tailor whatever this design sprint is going to be to not only your availability, but the strengths and the skills of your team. And again, that will be a discussion that will happen in the session. You also want to clarify each member's roles. Again, registration had a certain role that you had self-declared, but maybe since then you decided that given the makeup of the team, you'd like to do something a little bit different than what you're normally used to. Or you can do both designing and research work, but you would opt to do design work rather than research work. Whatever the case may be, talk with your team about what kind of role you would ideally like to move forward with and that you would get the best result for yourself by having this role in the virtual design sprint. Finally, you want to create a high-level activity schedule. You want to make sure that you outline when you're all getting together and when you're going to be working offline. Usually the facilitator or the advisor owns this particular deliverable or owns this document, but this is essential for everyone understanding when they are allocating time to work together online. Chances are that if you don't have this document and it's just assumed that everyone is going to get together, more often than not, you're going to run into issues where people are going to be sidelined because of offline occurrences or other things that may hinder their schedule. Now, let's say your kickoff doesn't go as planned. Too few people show up, or there's not enough time for everyone concerned to get all your online activities together. You do have options. One is to combine your team with another team to form a new sprint team with a chosen challenge. You still keep the same kickoff date, or you reframe it for a week in advance. But you essentially combine people that have self-affirmed in other groups that are also short and create a new design sprint team moving forward in a future week or in the upcoming week, depending on if everyone has availability. Another option is to choose a future design sprint to get involved with. So if you find that there's only 1 or 2 people on a 5 design sprint team that check in, then you can always look ahead to a future week in April and say, okay, well, I'd like to go with this team because it's another challenge I'm interested in. And the third option is if you don't have any availability for the rest of April, or you've decided that this probably isn't for you, you can bow out of the event. No one's going to get hurt. It's no hard feelings. It's just that sometimes it happens with a very volunteer event like this. So if that does occur and you do want to exit, just feel free to reach out to me directly and we can make arrangements. But I do encourage you to try to seek alternatives because this kind of event doesn't normally happen a lot, and it would be a great experience for you in terms of understanding what virtual design sprints are all about. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions, please post them below. Otherwise, you can subscribe and like in your leisure, and stay tuned for more videos on the Global Virtual Design Sprint.